Hey, back again on the back of that last video talking about the land of the milk and honey. So let's imagine we're hunters and gatherers. You know, we're roaming around chasing after the animals. Okay, it's our little spear. Oops. You know, we're running around chasing after the animals, hunting the four-legged animals, eating them. Right? And then they leave. The only thing left is a nice hot steaming pile of manure. After all these animals have moved on. Okay? But you do get this great little psychedelic mushroom that pops up out of it. And what if that's what got us in tune to the earth to go out and find, keep finding following these animals around. Instead of following these animals around, we decided, let's just build an Eden. Let's just build a place where the animals will all come to us by keeping it fertile. Let's look at what is the lungs of the earth right now. You can go to Brazil or the rainforest or anywhere that there's a rainforest, like in the Central America area and stuff. Isn't it ironic that there's still buried pyramids that are covered in debris and jungle, and it's all fertile everywhere you look. Fertility. Man, I can't spell. Fertility everywhere. But then when you find a pyramid that's dried up, it's a desert. You just got desert all around it, and it's hot, blazing hot. No life there. Let's look at the Great Pyramids in Egypt and such. The Nile, the river, which used to run, probably lap at the feet of Leo, the lion. I'm not even going to try to draw Leo, the lion, the Sphinx. That water was probably irrigated and running all around the pyramids, and there's 3 of them, and all this good stuff. But then now the river's like 8 miles away. I don't know if the water's still running underneath it like it was to create all that energy to come up from the ground to create a fertile zone, and the Sahara Desert's dried up because of earth changes. But so what if at one time, way back in the day, we built all these little pyramids, all these little places where shamans first maybe sat on a rock and they just altered their consciousness, just meditating, thinking, just trying to open their consciousness up, thinking hard on themselves, and then seeing the patterns in nature and reflecting on how they are part of us. And so we used our bodies, other videos I made, to create a way, a language, to understand the patterns of creation. And when we started putting those into the structures we built, we'd get more amplification out of them. We'd get more power out of the earth. Okay? More pyramids, more structures. And remember, pyramid, pyra, fire. Oops, gosh, I can't spell. Well, I always say I can't do this stuff, and then I do it anyways. I can't, I'm just too fast. I try to do it too fast. Pyra means fire, and mid in the middle. So, were they extracting the fire out of the middle of the earth, or the energy out of the middle of the earth, or was there energy in the middle of these pyramids? But regardless, here I'll get kind of deeper. Today, we set up these towers around the globe to transfer energy, antennas, and we're running wires. We're running it through copper wires or whatever for the conductivity. Back then, and now we've got the cell towers that are pumping out the energy as well. These 2 things that we do nowadays, it's just something that the ancients used to do. But they use their bodies instead of technological mechanisms. I'm not going to spell mechanism. We used, handheld mechanisms today to tune into all the stuff where we used to use our body. And what if they could sit in those pyramids? Okay, let's just say this hypothetically. Most of these pyramids have this great chamber in them that has this acoustic properties. Acoustic properties, which is very important to the ancient physics, and it has this conductivity, this electrical energy shooting through it, and you had these weird little places where maybe someone would sit and meditate, or they'd put the arc in there. It's an arc but spark, and maybe perhaps they use some kind of telepathy to speak to other people on the other side of the globe through wireless or maybe they had some kind of really elementally primitive, kind of like if you watch one of those Stargate movies, you know what I mean, where they had some kind of different technology that they could communicate back and forth. Now shamans today, indigenous shamans in South America, say that they can still communicate through thought amongst tribes and stuff. So, and here's one of the reasons I wonder why, if this energy was banned, because here's the Earth. We've already got this magnetic grid that protects us, but it's also magnetic, and we get hit with chunks of iron a lot and metal. And what does magnets attract? Magnets attract other chunks of metal. So if we were to start amplifying this, right, yeah, we'd have a greater atmosphere. Maybe that's what HAARP's trying to do by shooting up beams into the ionosphere and letting the ionosphere slap back and cause vibrations around the world. I don't think that's a very good idea. But perhaps when we were building those and amplifying that magnetic field, we drew in a comet, and it hit somewhere up in Alberta, Canada, about 12,900 years ago, and bam, way back, and quite a few ages back. And then we had a melt off, and then the young, what do they call it, young Dryas period, and then another melt off, and then it's 6,000 or 7,000 years ago we started climbing the cosmic ladder again, building up humanity again. But there are structures around here that were very old on this planet left behind that show that perhaps people back then had that knowledge, all that knowledge I was talking about. I'm just curious about that. Of course, a lot of this is speculation. I'm not a scientist. I'm just curious. Just curious. The crazy thing about, I'm talking in my Halloween videos and meteorite videos, but I always think it was cool how Jupiter, big old planet, crazy red spot, it has a tendency, where are we out here? It has a tendency to grab stuff and shoot it at us, but most of the time it deflects us away from this asteroid belt that's out here. And they call this Zeus, I believe. Jupiter was Zeus, and he would hurl occasionally his thunderbolts. Okay, and he was the biggest planet up there, one of the biggest guys up there, and he'd hurl his bolts around, and sometimes we'd get nailed. But they had 98% greater visibility. Anyways, that's all I got. One love. Peace.